district has a data hub where all the information is collected. Authorities call it the brain. Foreign media are seldom allowed access. Employees in this district alone have access to 290,000 cameras, and in some cases, they can control them directly. Algorithms help staff sort through the material. This monitor maps all construction sites, and the red dots flag irregularities. In one instance, the AI detects a construction worker not wearing a safety helmet. Sheng Dan co-developed the system. It took less than a year to get the first version up and running. Now she can monitor every resident from this office.
我们排摸的这个就是整个小区里面的楼房的一些信息。
We've mapped the residential buildings in the district. Which ones are occupied? Where there are vacancies? Where elderly people are living alone? Where care or help is needed? It's all stored in our system and can be called up in real time.
那么这样的一些基本信息呢，也都在这个微平台上就可以实时的调取出来。
Even those who do not dispose of their trash properly are recorded. Residents who aren't following the rules are captured on camera from 3 different angles. The so-called brain acts swiftly. Whether it's an illegally parked car or unsolicited advertising, offences can be handled by patrol officers who are connected to the control centre via a mobile app.
居村的干部，或者是我们居村里面的志愿者，发现问题。
As soon as the squads and volunteers in residential districts spot an issue, they can report it and upload footage. They take a photo, report the issue, and then our system automatically decides which department to forward the matter to.
区分，这个事项可能是由哪个部门进行有效的一个处理的。
The brain in Shanghai's Pudong district is just one component to the overarching surveillance plan the Chinese government is pushing across the country. The goal is to have complete coverage in all major public places, such as train stations, street intersections, and parks. China's state media boasts that police can identify every single person on the street in just 1 second. In Berlin, researcher Mareike Uhlberg is keeping a close eye on China's rapidly growing security apparatus. Uhlberg herself cannot enter China anymore because her research is a thorn in the side of authorities there. She knows all about surveillance centers like the one in Shanghai. For years, she's collected Chinese data that's available online, for instance, from public tenders.
We've downloaded several million data sets. Some have very detailed dependencies where really different surveillance schemes are explained in great depth.
For instance, what type of camera to install over which building entrance. The datasets also make clear why Chinese authorities are monitoring their citizens in the first place.
Da wird ganz wunderbar beschrieben, dass im Prinzip Menschen und menschliche Interaktion.
It's beautifully described that essentially people and human interaction are the source of any social conflict. And social conflict is ultimately what could cause difficulties for the government if they can't provide social stability. That's all to say, if you can monitor human activity with cameras, with surveillance, then you can also promptly detect and diffuse any conflict and essentially have peace again.
In Shanghai, there's big money in data collection. That's why huge corporations have set up shop in China, like the tech company Tencent, the Alibaba Group, and ByteDance, which markets itself as cosmopolitan in promo videos. As the parent company of TikTok, ByteDance is the world's most valuable startup. TikTok was the most downloaded app of 2020. The app has close to 700 million active users every month and is especially popular among young people across the world. That includes Germany too, of course. At the campus of the Ruhr University Bochum in North Rhine-Westphalia, Finn is an avid biker and his girlfriend Jill films for TikTok.
Yep, got it.
The student and her boyfriend love the social networking platform from China.
Ich wollte lieber so, ja. Okay, so ist
Is the text okay?
I think it's fine.
Okay, ja dann.
Okay, next.
Okay, ja dann.
One thing they both love about TikTok, anyone can get famous in just seconds.
My favorite part is that you don't have to do anything extraordinary. You just upload a video, and with luck, you'll instantly have 1,000 likes.
What you know about rolling down in the deep? When your brain goes numb, you can call that mental freeze. When these people talk too much, put that shit in slow motion. Yeah, I feel like an astronaut in the ocean. Hey, what you know about?
That's awesome.
Very cool.
All of Finn and Jill's friends are now on TikTok as well. The couple spends a lot of time on the app.
Also es ist schon fast ein bisschen
Well, it's a bit embarrassing. I don't want to admit how fast the time flies by. I have the feeling you don't just look at one or two videos, you endlessly scroll through.
scrollt man halt durch.
The secret to keep users scrolling? The algorithm. It tracks which videos Jill and Finn like and keeps offering new ones, which they then like even more. As their TikTok feeds become increasingly tailored to their specific tastes, the app is gathering troves of data in the background. But what exactly is it learning? What does TikTok know about the couple? The two are curious. We ask researchers at Ruhr University's Institute for IT Security to take a closer look at the app and shed some light on what kind of data TikTok's collecting.
So TikTok's installed on my phone.
The two can now see in real time what data is being transmitted.
This information is always transmitted.
So while catchy tunes play in the foreground, the network scans through personal data in the background. The approximate location, the cell phone model, and of course, every single like and comment.
I found it fascinating to see it all in such depth. I've never seen it before. With TikTok, I found it interesting and surprising, especially the fact that you can see how long I've watched which video or when I skip over it. I was shocked to see it laid out like that. But I think with time, I'll forget about that too and just use TikTok like I normally do.
With every scrap of data, TikTok's algorithm is sharpened, so the personalized recommendations get better.
TikTok has very good mechanisms in the background to suggest the exact content I like, thereby maximizing the likelihood that I'll stay on the platform longer. That's where they're better than Facebook and Instagram. And that's exactly what makes this company so valuable. On the other hand, a platform like this can also filter out certain content. So if certain political content or topics aren't desired, they're just not shown to other users.
TikTok is time and again accused of pushing funny videos and suppressing disagreeable content. Videos that are critical of China don't stand a chance. Case in point, the Tiananmen Square massacre. Clips of the deadly 1989 protests can be found here and there, but often with very few likes. It's called shadow banning. Content is not deleted, but it's shown so rarely that it's essentially made invisible. TikTok declined our request for an interview on this topic. But the company's Berlin office told us their content moderation is not influenced by any government, including China's. Despite assertions otherwise, expert Mareike Uhlberg says Chinese companies may be private on paper, but the state reserves the right to intervene at any time.
Of course, there's ultimately the possibility to have greater control over these products. Even if the content isn't overtly censored, it can be indirectly censored through what's pushed out, what becomes popular versus what's made to disappear.
In Beijing, artist Dang Yufeng knows what it's like for something to disappear at the hands of Chinese censors. Because he works on politically sensitive topics, he's been questioned several times by police. In a performance last year, he explored the question, is it even possible to walk down a Beijing street anymore without being captured on camera?
I photographed each surveillance camera, researched the model, and marked down the technical details, such as the focal length, the angle. For each camera, I identified the brand and model, so I had precise information and knew the exact area it covered.
He filmed a group of volunteers walking along a stretch in the shadow of Beijing's cameras. Each step was choreographed. The group took over 2 hours to walk about 1 kilometer. The videos have since been censored by the authorities and can only be viewed outside mainland China. The artist is also no longer permitted to distribute the material.
Of course I'm disappointed. As an artist, you create something, you invest work, ideas and thoughts. You try to express yourself. You nurture it like you do a child, and then you can't make your own work known or show it to anyone. Of course it's frustrating.
His latest project also grapples with privacy concerns, and his critique extends beyond China. In his exhibition, he publishes a provocative fact sheet listing his own personal information. In the wake of the COVID-19 pandemic, data collection has ramped up even more in China. Health authorities use apps to try to identify infected individuals' potential contacts. Dang must scan a QR code with an app before entering the gallery district. His temperature is also taken.
The app looks at your health status and can track your journey. After the scan, it shows you if everything is okay.
If he had been in the same place as someone infected with the coronavirus, he would have been denied entry. Whenever COVID-19 is again detected in the country, the app becomes everyone's ticket to public life, to shop at a grocery store, to eat at a restaurant, even to get a taxi. Back in Bochum, researchers at Ruhr University are comparing the Chinese health app to Germany's coronavirus app. The German version adheres to the country's notoriously strict data protection laws. The app may only communicate anonymously with other mobile devices in the immediate vicinity.
That means the data is processed locally on my phone. The Chinese app works completely differently.
Analyzing the app proves complicated. The data is encrypted, but the researchers can see that data is being collected and transmitted at every check-in location.
This information that I'm at a certain place at a certain time, that is then presumably transmitted to a central place, and that's where the actual analysis is done. Checking in itself is of course problematic from a privacy perspective, because you then have very detailed tracking.
China has completely de-emphasized privacy and freedom of movement during the pandemic. In the brain of Shanghai's Pudong district, every suspected COVID-19 case is monitored.
We installed a network of sensors in front of apartments. When the door's sensor registers people leaving the apartment in violation of the rules, we're alerted. District staff and the health department are then informed and can respond quickly.
What's technologically possible is carried out with little regard for people's privacy. Criticism or resistance among the population is virtually non-existent. Even the usually critical artist Deng thinks collecting health data amid the pandemic is useful.
It's an ethical trade-off. Is human life or privacy more important? That's the choice that technology presents us. In this case, I think everyone makes the decision that life is more important.
Back in Hangzhou, the Yu family goes about their daily routine, which they believe is easier thanks to technology. Shopping without cash is the standard. 10-year-old Man Fei can buy a drink to go with a scan of her smartwatch. The family leaves a trail of digital footprints everywhere it goes. They're seen by companies as well as government agencies. China is among the countries collecting the most amount of personal data. The government wants to go a step further by implementing a ranking system of individual behavior. The project is already being piloted in the Yu family's home city, so they can collect points.
The better you score, the more advantages you have in your daily life. I think it encourages people to voluntarily follow the rules.
That's how the social credit system works in Hangzhou. Those who violate laws, like not paying their taxes on time or not paying back loans, have points deducted. People are also penalized for making false statements in the country's COVID-19 app. People are rewarded for volunteering, staying fit through exercise, or using low-emission transportation. Donating blood also earns points. Other cities also reward organ donors, or everyday things like returning books to the library on time. But what precisely is collected and how scores are calculated is not transparent. Professor Dai Xin has been researching the topic for years. The Beijing subway system also has a project that incentivizes commuters. People who follow the rules are allowed to skip strict security checks at subway entrances, where every bag is normally scanned.
The idea tends to be, yes, if you have some records built up based on your previous behavior, then there's a determination that your risk might be kind of really low, and then we can subject you to less, checks than other people.
China wants obedient citizens. Authorities entice with rewards and threaten with punishment. Professor Dai tells us the state hasn't always been able to enforce laws, but that's changing. Rule breakers will be penalized more harshly and comprehensively going forward.
Okay, let's say they don't care about paying fines that I impose. Maybe they care about, for example, next time they go to the tax authority asking for a certain type of tax relief, they might actually be interested in if they know, you know, what they make me unhappy, they might also have trouble with you, then they actually have additional incentives.
Yu Chunwei is signing up for the social credit system. 1/3 of Hangzhou's residents have registered so far. Yu has to link the data from his personal ID, then he'll get his score.
That's 493 points right after registering. Perks start after 550 points.
The launch of a nationwide rating system was originally planned for 2020. But like so many data projects, it's being tested locally first. Just trying something out is also common in China. Experimentation is a key business model in the country. Tech companies rely on savvy consumers like the He family in Shanghai.
I'm here.
Play a kids' movie.
Okay.
Xiao Ai is the name of the voice assistant from electronics manufacturer Xiaomi, a Chinese Alexa. The He family loves smart technology. Their TV, lights, and air conditioning can all be controlled via mobile app. Even their refrigerator is high-tech, offering reminders about their groceries' shelf life.
A week before this onion goes bad, I get a reminder that I better use it up now, and I can always check my smartphone to see what's about to expire in the fridge. I don't think I'm bragging when I say that China is ahead of the US and Europe in terms of digital life. Simply because there's a huge range of connected products for every area of life.
Chinese technology has long been finding its way into the homes of German consumers. Düsseldorf is home to Xiaomi's German headquarters. The managing director is excited to show us around. The products the He family rave about in China are also set to capture the German market. The company is driven by the same goal in both countries: growth.
It's entirely transparent.
This TV is one of the company's latest innovations. Rice cookers, electric kettles, electric scooters. Xiaomi wants its products to be integrated into all facets of daily life.
Our principle is one app for everything. You can control all devices on your smartphone.
In Germany, Xiaomi has quickly emerged as the third most popular smartphone maker. Not that German customers are making it easy for them.
It makes sense to be a little cautious. But what we're building with the smartphone simplifies our lives. We bring value to consumers.
In a promotional video, the company promised top innovation, imported at low prices. But a scandal last year undermined this positive messaging. An IT expert from London discovered that cell phones from Xiaomi transferred highly personal user data to the company. International media reported users were being spied on. Researchers in Bochum saw the news too.
We saw that users' browsing behavior was sent to another server, where it was possible to track which smartphone visited which website. So you could pinpoint in detail which website I went to and at what time. You could also generate specific tracking profiles from that.
The researchers assess how data is being transmitted by connecting the cell phone inside this special box. Xiaomi claimed it immediately stopped collecting data after the allegations. The team at Ruhr University confirmed this too after analyzing the latest browser version. Xiaomi phones from Germany no longer transmit sensitive information in the background.
You can see that in Germany or Europe in general, data protection is considered very important. In fact, the General Data Protection Regulation is the strictest in the world. In Germany, the topic plays an especially important role, compared to China, where consumers are suddenly very transparent.
Facial recognition is the basis of Chinese government surveillance. At Hanwang Technology in Beijing, developing artificial intelligence is painstaking work. Through countless clicks, Jiang Zhouhan and his team teach the computer to correctly analyze crowds, deciphering what's a head versus the back of the head and what's just an object.
These are images from the web and from movies where there are many people. That's where we mark individual faces and label them.
The pandemic presented the company with its biggest challenge yet. The software stopped working when suddenly everyone was wearing a mask to protect themselves against the virus. Jiang Zhouhan immediately launched a task force to feed the computers new data.
We then mobilized the whole company. Everyone took pictures of themselves at home, pictures with masks in different environments. We all collected them. I remember we started this in mid-February, and by mid-March, we released our facial recognition algorithm with masks. We were the first in China.
Facial recognition in Germany is a different story. A pilot project ran at this Berlin train station for over a year. It was the largest trial to date with 300 test subjects. Time and again, German authorities flirt with this technology. Kensa Ait Si Abu is an expert in robotics and artificial intelligence. She previously lived in China and is fascinated by the potential of technology. Still, she has her reservations.
It means no one is anonymous anymore. If I walk down the street, people would know exactly who I am, where I live, where I've just been, who I'm meeting, and that's of course an invasion of privacy.
The pilot project at Berlin's Südkreuz train station was met with skepticism and protests. The idea of the state monitoring the population through facial recognition is not popular in Germany. The pilot project is now over. So how should new technologies be developed when they can't be tested?
People don't like to take risks here, which often leads to us not being quite as fast. But when the product is out, it's much better than all the others. And that's always what we talk about. And what I would like to see as a tech expert is that we take a bit more risk and trust ourselves a bit more.
Just how quickly China crosses the line between the use and abuse of technology can be seen in Xinjiang in the northwest of the country. The Chinese government markets the region, with its capital Urumqi, as an exotic tourist destination. Xinjiang is home to the Uyghurs, a mainly Muslim Turkic ethnic group with their own language and culture. The state has imposed an unprecedented regime of surveillance and repression. In the past, tensions between Uyghurs and the Chinese state escalated to violence. Now the Chinese government exercises complete control.
This started in 2016, around fall. Cameras were installed everywhere, more and more every day.
KB Noor Siddiq is from Xinjiang, but she now lives in the Netherlands. That's why she can speak freely. Back in her homeland, people who openly criticize the Chinese government face imprisonment. We visited Urumqi to connect the dots of KB Noor Siddiq's story. She lived in this residential area, dotted with surveillance cameras. All over Urumqi, facial recognition software is embedded into building entrances, and the information is sent to the police. So the state always knows who's coming and going.
Suddenly, no one was allowed to visit us, only very close relatives. We had to get their visit approved with date, time, and a reason.
We were not able to verify many details in her story. We couldn't conduct interviews because we too were under constant surveillance. Policemen were everywhere on the street, equipped with mobile ID scanners. At times, a checkpoint appeared every few hundred meters.
When an alarm sounded at the ID check, heavily armed policemen came immediately. They were already standing by. They put a black bag over people's heads and led them away. I saw that very often. To this day, I start shaking when I see a black plastic bag.
In the northern part of the city, between prisons, we managed to film a complex of data centers where surveillance cameras and other data are analyzed. When the software identifies a suspect, it reports it directly to the police officers on the scene via a mobile app. Among those under surveillance are people who recently moved, who traveled abroad, who appear in a government database of potential suspects as well as their contacts, who use an unusually large amount of electricity, or whose cell phone wasn't logged into a network for a while. Our investigation quickly faced resistance.
Who are you?
Don't ask who we are. What are you doing here? What did you film?
KB Noor Siddiq is a teacher. In Xinjiang, she taught Chinese at an elementary school. Then she was transferred to this complex on the outskirts of the city, ostensibly to teach Chinese to Uyghurs.
The people's hands and feet were tied. They moved as if in slow motion. Then I understood that I had not been taken to a school for adult education, but to a prison camp.
The area was gradually transformed into a high-security wing with watchtowers and barbed wire enclosures. Those features have since disappeared again. Signs now say the area is an industrial zone, but it's still closely guarded by the police.
You can't go in there.
We're just walking around outside.
No, you can't do that. And there's nothing to see there either.
China's government denies that such camps exist and refers to them as vocational training centers. But international observers disagree. They say about 1 million people have disappeared at least temporarily into such internment camps. KB Noor Siddiq reported torture and sexual violence. The women were also forced to take an unknown substance.
Many did not get their periods after that. But for some it was the other way around. They couldn't stop bleeding. There was an 18-year-old who lost so much blood, she died because she didn't get care in time. I saw them carrying her out.
The birth rate among Uyghurs has dropped dramatically since Beijing's total repression began. Several nations label their actions as a genocide, which the government rejects. Questions about what's happening in Xinjiang ricochet back to Chinese technology companies. Don May and his colleagues in Pennsylvania in the United States analyze surveillance equipment. While testing facial recognition programs from the Chinese company Dahua, they discovered something they hadn't seen before, a category for race.
We're getting his age, it's saying he's young.
The software labeled people as, quote, black, white, and yellow.
What his gender is.
And that's not all.
Male.
Dahua developed a particular solution designed for police to provide real-time Uyghur alarms and alerts. So there's clearly a financial incentive by Dahua to create this because the demand is coming from the government.
According to the team's research, Dahua's system can send an alert to Chinese police if a person appears to be from the Muslim Uyghur minority group. Dahua is the second largest supplier of surveillance technology and sells its products worldwide, including to Germany. But Dahua is not the only Chinese company specializing in this tech. This is a patent application for facial recognition technology filed jointly by the global telecom company Huawei and the Chinese Academy of Sciences. This technology also distinguishes ethnic groups, Han Chinese and Uyghurs.
When you're using technology to specifically target ethnic minorities that are being persecuted, and it's labeled by the US government as a genocide, and you're a company that is developing solutions for that, it is an ethical concern.
The patent application has meanwhile been amended. The word Uyghur has disappeared. The demand for artificial intelligence has skyrocketed as a result of China's investment in surveillance. Development is happening at breakneck speed. China aims to be the leader of this tech in the next decade. The brave new world. Many here celebrate modern technology and are proud of the advancements. The future of high-tech is taking shape fast. Should China have total control of the reins, or should the rest of the world get a say too?